Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, unable to move, unable to breathe, with the feeling that something was watching you from the corner of your room? And then your eyes adjust and you see it, a figure, darker than the darkness itself. A shadow with no face, no eyes, yet you know. It's looking right at you. These are not nightmares. These are encounters with what millions of people across the world call the shadow people. For centuries, stories of dark, faceless beings have been told in every culture. From the ancient desert tribes to modern apartment dwellers, people describe the same chilling presence, shadowy figures that appear at night, often during sleep paralysis, but sometimes, when you're wide awake. What are they? Are they spirits, demons, interdimensional beings? Or are they simply hallucinations created by the brain? Tonight, we're going deep into the real story of the shadow people, and by the end, you may not sleep so peacefully again. The phenomenon isn't new. Ancient Sumerians believed in Ale, faceless spirits of darkness that visited people in their sleep, choking them. In Islamic tradition, there are tales of jinn who live unseen among humans, sometimes appearing as shadows. Native American tribes speak of shadow walkers, entities that cross between the living and the spirit world. Even in medieval Europe, people whispered about the night hag, a dark figure pressing on their chest while they slept. Different names, same story, beings of shadow that prey on humans when they are most vulnerable. Today, thousands report eerily similar encounters. The most common type is the hat man, a tall, shadowy figure wearing what looks like an old-fashioned wide-brimmed hat. Some describe him as just standing in the doorway, silently watching. Others say he moves closer, sometimes leaning over the bed. Another common form is a small, fast-moving shadow that darts across walls and ceilings. And then there are the full-bodied silhouettes, men, women, sometimes even children, completely black, with no details, always watching, never speaking. Case after case sends shivers down the spine. A woman in Texas recalls waking up at 3 a.m., unable to scream, as a tall shadow figure with glowing red eyes crouched at the end of her bed. In London, a man reported being followed by a shadow in his apartment for weeks. Every night, it stood closer until, one night, he felt its cold hand on his ankle before it vanished. One of the most disturbing accounts comes from a nurse in Chicago who worked night shifts. She swore she saw a shadow person walk into a patient's room, only to discover minutes later that the patient had passed away. Skeptics argue that shadow people are products of the human brain under stress. Sleep paralysis, for example, traps the body between wakefulness and dreaming, often accompanied by hallucinations. The brain creates terrifying figures to explain the sensation of paralysis. Neurologists claim it's all in the mind. But this doesn't explain why cultures separated by thousands of miles and centuries describe the exact same beings. Others believe shadow people are much more than hallucinations. Some say they are interdimensional beings, bleeding into our reality from a parallel world. Paranormal investigators suggest they may be a form of spirit or demon that feeds on human fear. The Hat Man, in particular, is described as more intelligent, more deliberate, and often connected to major negative events in a person's life. Are they simply watching, or are they draining us? One of the most chilling reports comes from a man in Arizona. He claimed that after months of seeing a shadow man in his room, it finally spoke. As he lay paralyzed in bed, the figure leaned close and whispered in a low, guttural voice, "Not yet." The next day, his car spun out on the highway. He survived the crash, but said he'll never forget the feeling that the shadow man had. Postpone something. So what are the shadow people? Hallucinations, spirits, or visitors from beyond dimensions we cannot see. Maybe they are all of these. Or maybe they are something far more sinister, something we're not meant to understand. One thing is certain: thousands of people continue to experience them, and no explanation, scientific or supernatural, has been enough to put these fears to rest. So tonight, when you turn off the lights, ask yourself, what's standing in the corner of your room, watching, waiting? Don't miss the next horror story. Subscribe now and turn on the bell.